Imagine starting a new country completely from scratch, freed from any pre-existing economic system, tax laws, or formal government. A bankrupt country with its future and direction completely in the hands of its people. That's the story of Estonia. It was 1991, the Soviet Union had collapsed, and Estonia had just regained its independence. But with few resources and a small population, the country had to find a way forward. With the internet beginning to boom, leaders decided to invest in and build an e-society. The first project was Tiger Leap, which put computers and the internet in every school and got Estonians online fast. By the late 90s, all Estonian schools were online. In 2000, Estonia became the first country in the world to declare internet access as a basic human right. And today, Estonians are connected online through a mobile ID.
Using that ID card, we can do everything. We can vote online in elections. We can declare our taxes. We can register businesses. We can do e-school, e-police, e-cabinet, you name it. And everybody is very used to that.
All of this personal data is protected by technology called blockchain, a decentralized network with countless channels that make it exceedingly difficult to hack. And as a backup, Estonia will create the world's first data embassy in Luxembourg, a storage facility to house an entire backup of Estonia's data capable of rebooting the country in case of a cyber attack. The result is a country that runs like a tech startup. Estonia teaches first graders how to code. It has the world's fastest broadband and holds the records for most startups per person. In 2003, two Estonian friends created Skype, the video calling app. It was sold to Microsoft in 2011 for $8.5 billion, but instead of cashing out, the ex-Skypers reinvested in Estonia. They launched new startups and founded a venture capital fund with their wealth. Creating the future is Estonia's driving project, and increasingly its core business too. With the introduction of e-residence, Estonia is hoping to invite entrepreneurs to invest in the country.
So each person globally can apply and get this e-residence card the same way Estonians have been using that for 70 years. Using that card, e-residents establish company, establish bank account, open different PayPal and other solutions. And then you can remotely manage and administrate the company, fully online.
So far, just 18,000 people have signed up. But some believe that with 10 million e-residents paying $100 a month each, Estonia would not even need to tax its citizens. It's certainly an ambitious goal. Only a place that started over from scratch could imagine reinventing the whole idea of a country as a place where people could feel at home as much online as where they actually live. We'll see if the rest of the world takes a page from their book.
Sabai, Peru, welcome all here, and I'm very pleased to be here in Bangkok. Thankfully, it's not my first time here, but after this kind of clip, I don't know if I have anything to add. Everything was summarized so well, so that maybe I just get off the stage and, we can have a next speaker. But just to put jokes aside, I'm, as I said, very pleased to be here, and hopefully I can say a few things more. So I want to thank the organizers that OKMD Festival invited me here to be today. And I understand it's the second time. So, and as I say, after the second time, it's already a tradition. So that I'm sure that this festival will have a long future ahead of it. But with few minutes I've given, maybe I give you a small menu of the day. I give you a very short introduction what Estonia is and where we are. Then why we did succeed. So, and also I try to generalize what can be the lessons to everybody else as well, what at least we have learned. What to do, and I talk more about e-Estonia and also a bit about what comes next. So if you think about Estonia, how many of you have heard about Estonia before? Okay, how many of you have been to Estonia? And we don't get offended in Estonia because it's a small country in North Europe. Actually, only two countries are further north in full than Estonia. It's Iceland and Finland. All other countries, at least bits of it, have also south of Estonia. So we are in the north. And people think, you know, it's very north, it means it's very cold. And when I lived in the UK, people even asked, do polar bears live in Estonia? And then I said, actually we do, have 2 of them. And both live in Zoo of Tallinn. Point is that we are north, but we are not so far north. We're a small country. Territory-wise, not so small. We're bigger than Denmark, or Switzerland, or Holland, or Belgium. But population-wise, we are small. So that what also was shown in the clip, we really, you know, we have to make the difference in order to stand out. But just, you know, before I go to the more detail what Estonia is and how we have done it so far, maybe a very short 1-minute introduction to Estonia, what Estonia is. I use only 20 words. I said Estonia is Nordic. We are small. Because it's north, we have snow. What was shown in the clip, Soviet occupation, was there for 50 years. We are modest, like most Nordic countries. We like singing. Singing is important. We have big song festivals. I will show the picture later. We like sauna. It's part of our culture. It's very, very important. Also, maybe it's a cold climate. We like our privacy. It's also important to explain what we have done so far. E-government. This is really defines us today. Then we are part of European Union. We are a member of Eurozone. We have followed free liberal economy. We also reliable. What I missed? We have lots of startups. We are also like Thailand, relatively big tourism magnet. And lastly, Midsummer Day. Midsummer Day is actually next weekend. It's the biggest public holiday in Estonia because then the night is the shortest, only 2 hours. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. it gets dark. So this is a very brief introduction of what Estonia is. But, so, why we succeeded? This is the rankings right now. We, as you know, many countries are obsessed about rankings, especially small countries, we as well. In 1991, when Estonia regained independence, we really need to make a difference because before the Second World War, when Estonia was independent, then Estonia was one of the richest countries in Europe. We were ahead of Finland, our northern neighbor. In 1991, when we regained independence, our living standard was only 30% of Finland's. So a really big gap. So a real change was necessary. And we decided that we will have a clear cut. I think it's one of the most important aspects, that we got rid of everything old. We got rid of all politicians. We didn't put them away. They just, you know, they left politics. Our prime minister, who came into office, that time was 32 years of age. So very young. Our diplomats were young, our ministers were young, everybody was young because we didn't have this old Soviet past. And as we had to transform from planned economy to market economy, also we changed everything from day one. So a clear cut. Day one means we introduced so-called shock therapy. From day one, we liberalized everything. Prices, we had also, let's say, we privatized everything. Government role started to diminish, and now it's very limited. So we did everything very, very fast. Why it was important? Because that time it was so that many people gave us different advice. For example, IMF told us not to do monetary reform. We did anyway. In 1992, we did a monetary reform that really helped our economy. I said the Prime Minister at the time, age of 32, his name was Mart Laar, he is historian, and he had a really political vision and courage to do the reforms. Looking back now, it's great. Maybe it was a bit of luck as well. But one thing he said that, you know, proudly, he had read only one book about economy. Milton Friedman's Capitalism and Freedom. So a very far right way of thinking in economy. But maybe it was necessary. Because we knew that time, in order to really to succeed, we had to do something differently. We needed to see where we can have shortcuts in development. And why it's important is because when I now start talk about e-Estonia, then we saw that modern technology provides you shortcuts in development. Because if you have a small country, relatively big size territory, small population means sparsely populated country, then we needed ways to communicate. How government can communicate with citizens so that it makes, makes sense. It's cheap and it's convenient. So our Prime Minister thought it will be e-government, that we introduced that. Obviously, our geography played a role, because Finland, Sweden, our close neighbors, and you all know that they are extremely, let's say, liberal, they are efficient, they are tech-savvy, so it helped. Because Estonia and Finland are the closest. Finnish and Estonian language are almost the same. And our history plays a role as well. As said, we were independent before the Second World War. So we took a very clear vision, clear cut, and started to move towards west. So we started to prepare to join the European Union, NATO, OECD, all the Western organizations who could think of, because we wanted to have a, let's say, prosperous society. Like I usually try to summarize what is the let's say, aim for Estonia. The aim of Estonia is just to become yet another rich, boring Nordic country. You can choose on what word you want to put the emphasis on. Is it rich or boring or whatever? But this is the thing. We want to be a normal Nordic country, and we're already there. Important aspect why I'm talking that is, in a way, we went against the flow. Many in the West told us, don't do it, at least take it slower. Don't do those kind of radical reforms. We did it anyway. The point is, you really need a political courage, and you need confidence. You need to believe in yourself. And it's very, very important, because we knew that we cannot copy anybody. We can copy a bit, but still, we had to do it a different way. We had to do it fast if we want to catch up fast. So therefore, believing in yourself is extremely important. And extremely important was also that, given those rankings as well, it's not possible unless if you're a small country, you have to be extremely open. This is another important aspect. Estonia is so small that we are very dependent on trade. We cannot sustain ourselves. We cannot produce everything ourselves. We need to trade. Our foreign trade turnover is about 160% of our GDP. So we trade a lot. Because if I have to import, you have to export as well. And make it cheap. If you have to import anyway, why do you use tariffs? So we don't use tariffs. Now, as a member of the European Union, we have to do it, but that time we did not. Because I always say Estonia is not a market, it's a country. 1.3 million is not a market. European Union, 500 million is a market. How many countries can say that they are markets by themselves? China, maybe. India, yes. But Thailand, close to 70 million. It's, I would say that it's in short term, it can be yes. It can be a short sprint, just to really push forward with economic development. But you cannot run a marathon with that, because the world is flat. It's globalized, so you have to be open. Unless you're open, you won't prosper. At least it's the lesson we have learned so far. So I would like to emphasize maybe 4 points during my presentation. And first will be that your policy should be that you have to make your location and your size irrelevant. It has been the main idea behind our policies so far, that we do everything we can in order to make our size and location irrelevant. So we chose for that 3 things. You have to make your business environment as attractive as possible. And in Estonia, it leans on 3 pillars. We have to make it simple. As the rankings also shows, our tax system is very simple. Our bureaucracy is very thin. You have to make it transparent. That's why I introduced e-government, but I come back to that a bit later. And you have to make it efficient. And then if you do all those things, then your size and location becomes irrelevant. Yes, of course, you cannot escape it completely, but at least it helps. But maybe a bit also who I am. I just turned 40 last week, and some people say that I have dyed my hair gray for the last 15 years just to look more serious. And my sister has told me all the time that, brother, wear glasses, you will look smart as well. But I've been a diplomat for almost 20 years, and now I joined the Ministry of Economic Affairs. But I've always been driven by curiosity. I like to see and learn what's happening outside the world, because I know that what I said before, Estonia is too small. If we just there in our small pond, swim there around, even if the water is warm, you don't learn anything. You have to go out. So that in this respect, I liked very much my job as a diplomat. I've been lucky to work in London, been lucky to work in Washington, D.C., and most recently, I was Estonian ambassador to India, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka. So not far from here. So Myanmar, yes, I traveled quite often, and always through Bangkok, because quite strangely, there is no direct flight from Delhi to Yangon. But like my personality as well, I always say that, you know, we have to be open, we have to learn from others. I'm here also to learn, because everything, you know, world has to offer, you have to adapt. Because, as you know, we don't lack ideas. The world is full of ideas. What makes a difference between successful and less successful is the efficiency or the ability to implement. Unless you implement your ideas, they're useless. So therefore, you know, have to learn and see what others are doing, but also you have to create a few ideas of your own, and I come to that as well. Maybe I speak more now about e-Estonia. E-Estonia is something that, you know, we are really, let's say, known for in the world as well. We have gained some, let's say, popularity. We have many visits all around the world come to see what we have done. And why you have done it? Why e-Estonia? What I said before. We really seek where we can have shortcuts in development. Because if you're a relatively poor country and want to catch up, what you can do. So I thought, as I said, we had to use modern technology to use that. And it was political courage. That time when we introduced e-government in 90s, late 90s, e-government was a luxury product. Not like today, where it's a necessity. We had a prime minister, the same Mart Laar, who also was 32 in 1992, now he was already close to 40, my age right now. He said, we will do it. It was completely supply-driven. There was no demand. A citizen said, why do you need it? Why? But he said, no, we will do it because, you know, it makes sense. He had a vision. So we started with start to build up our infrastructure. And it was, you know, it was so important that every person should have access to internet and modern technology. What was also shown in the clip in the start, we had a tiger leap. We started with schools, so that in the mid-90s, there was a government program that every school needs to be linked to the internet, so that every school has classrooms and pupils can access the internet. So this is actually the picture is from this song festival that I was mentioning before, and we will have a next song festival. It's every 4 years, next weekend, where also my daughter will participate. But then we had to build a completely new infrastructure, and for that we needed one important element: the ID card. ID card was introduced in 2002, and it has a smart chip. Every Estonian resident, not citizen, you have to be a resident, has it. It's a compulsory. Now it's mobile ID. But this is, let's say, really a crucial part of our IT infrastructure, because it really can guarantee you the integrity and safety of the system. Because I will talk about cybersecurity, but it's a crucial thing. Unless you can make a secure system, it won't function. So therefore, ID card is extremely important. And e-government was we started to build it. What is extremely important? also, at the latest stage of my story, that when government started to build it, it means that we did it in collaboration with the private sector. Almost nothing in Estonian e-government system is done by government by itself. It's all outsourced from the private sector. Meaning that the government asked, we need this kind of system, and then private sector competed in order to find the best solution. It's extremely important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it really, government helped to create the IT cluster in Estonia. It really helped to create the IT industry in Estonia. Secondly, also, it really helped to facilitate the good linkage, good cooperation between the government and private sector. You need it anyway. Why you build the e-governance? You build it in order to communicate better with the businesses and citizens. So the logic comes from private sector, meaning everybody understands it the same way. Therefore, it's extremely important. But what I mean by e-government, in Estonia, e-government, we call it the X-road. It's all based on internet. We don't have like closed circle. It's actually open internet. We just, we use encryption to help different databases to talk to each other. As you see it from the slide as well, so that everything is linked. Is it private citizen? Is it government institutions or private companies? They are all linked. And what is important? Maybe it's like your GNI network here in Thailand as well, that it's not important how the infrastructure looks like. The purpose is important. You have to facilitate the exchange of data between different institutions. And the ID card in the town, in the south east corner of this slide, every person has it. So this ID card helps to identify you, so that if you use the services, we can make sure that you are who you claim to be. And all the, let's say, legal entities, they have certificates also just to prove that they are who they claim to be. So there is no one big database. And it's very important that there is no one big database. Why? Because of cybersecurity. Let's say, take this picture, I say, maybe you like LG TV. I like Philips, someone like Samsung. It's not important, matter of taste. Important thing is that you have to make the plug fit, that you can all link to the same system. So the same system is here. So actually how the e-government in Estonia looks like is this. So that is, we have thousands of servers that just can talk to each other. And now try to hack this. So if you have a huge database, just one single server, it's a huge risk that if somebody can penetrate it, then you are doomed. But if even if you can, maybe you can hack one of the servers, yes, the damage might be there, but still it's a very limited one. But let's talk about, obviously, the elephant in the room. If government has so much data about you, how about the big brother? Granted, extremely important aspect. And this is where what we were thinking of from the day one. Couple of aspects. First, life is digital. We cannot escape it. I want to see government now can turn it around. So if it's digital, meaning you have to control it somehow, meaning not control it, but you have to use it to make it to work in your benefit. Now you have two options. You either run it by the government, meaning you trust the government, or you outsource it from private sector, meaning you have to trust this company. In Estonia, we made up our mind, we trust our government. But it's not just trust. Of course, checks and balances have to be in place. Two aspects maybe I want to highlight. In analog world, let's say you have a medical record, and your file is somewhere in the closet in the doctor's office. How you can make sure that somebody goes there, checks the data, makes a photocopy of it, and leaves? You can't. In cyberspace, there is always track left behind. You can try to hide it, but it's there. So our system is based on two pillars. One is that we have a log, so that every citizen has a portal. I can go to the portal and see all the data government has about me. And when there is a piece of data that I think, why it's there, I can ask, why do you have it? Delete it. So this is the other important aspect. Who owns the data? Citizen owns the data, not the government. If those principles are agreed on, then it's much, much easier. So the log and the ownership, these are two very important aspects. But also very simple things can help. You know that, about 3 weeks ago, malware called WannaCry was, conquering the world. I suppose also in Thailand was affected. Estonia was not affected much. Why? Very simple reason. Of course, it's not the only reason, but very simple one. Because none of the Estonian e-government systems works unless you have updated software. So you cannot access the services with the old version of Windows or anything else. A very simple thing. In order to use the service, you have to update it. So very simple things can help. So cybersecurity is extremely important. It's crucial. Without that, nothing happens. And even if you take cybersecurity, I go one extra mile. In Estonia, we also got external help. 2007, Estonia was arguably the first country that was under cyber attack from Russia. And we really know we were able to defend ourselves, but it was good for at least one reason. It helped us to mobilize the political and also the financial resources to build up even better competence, to have cybersecurity abilities. Now Estonia has National Cyber Defense League. What means like many countries have these paramilitary defense leagues that is on voluntary basis come together. In Estonia have the same thing on cyber defense, meaning government institutions, utilities, banks, telcos, all the IT chiefs of those institutions and companies, they have formed a group that come together on voluntary basis and exercise how to defend the country. They even have military ranks, but it was a voluntary basis. After that, when Estonia built this competency, NATO, the defense alliance, Estonia is also a member of, NATO Center of Excellence of Cyber Security is based in Tallinn. The IT agency of European Union is based in Tallinn. The Vice President of the European Commission, Andrus Ansip, who is in charge of Digital Europe, is a former Prime Minister of Estonia. So that we really have built up the competency in order to understand, how it works and how to protect itself, because security is everything. So it has to be based on something, and it doesn't mean that, cyberspace is not, let's say, risk-free. Of course it is. There are risks. But you have to face them, you have to build up the competence, and then, everything is possible. So, X-Road is the backbone of Estonian e-government. And then very quickly, the timeline also, Estonian e-government. So we started in 2000, tax board, M-parking, internet voting. Estonia is the only country in the world that in 2005 introduced internet voting. We have had it 12 years. We have local elections coming up again this October. We all vote electronically, meaning you can have a chance. Last elections, 30% of the votes were cast electronically. And also about cybersecurity. With internet voting, Estonia hired officially, unofficially, hired hackers to try to penetrate the system, just to test it. And they failed, so that we can say that it's proven. Not everybody thinks that, it is proven. Some countries still doubt, but it's mostly for one reason. I come to that immediately. So, and other things followed, and also now we have some things in the future as well. I will talk about that. So, Today, we say in Estonia there are 3 things you cannot do online yet. You cannot get married, you cannot get divorced, and you cannot buy property yet. Now my point is that is Estonia special? That why we did it, why we introduced it? Is it special because we were so small we could do it? That question I get asked all the time. 1.3 million, easy, you can do it. In India, there was an ambassador in India, 1.3 billion people. They said, you know, you can do it. But then I always ask the same question in response. If everything in Estonia what you did is outsourced from private sector, tell me one company that thinks that 1 million is better than 1 billion, or in Thailand's case, that 1 million is better than 70 million. They see not only a challenge, they also see opportunity. Give engineers a chance. So this is my second maybe message I would like to give to you is that usually the obstacles are mental, or between the brackets, political. They are not engineering ones. So this is also important, that we have to free up our minds, literally. Important, because maybe in Estonia helped also that we didn't have a legacy issues. Because we started from scratch, we wanted to do it, and now we go further and further and further. And as I said, now others have started to look also what we are doing and why. We have tens of visits weekly from all around the world. We have established already a long time ago e-government academy, like you have in Thailand. But in Estonia, it's mostly to accommodate all the visits. Because, you know, so many delegations are coming to learn from us and to exchange ideas, and we need to free up some people just to develop it, the system further. And therefore, you know, e-government academy helps a lot. 3 months ago, I was myself with my president in Finland. We signed agreement with Finland. Finland now took over our system, and from now on we develop it further. So that also we want to do it in a full scale, much bigger scale. Because as I said, Estonia is not the market, it's a country. And 1st of July, Estonia is a part of the European Union, and we take over the EU presidency. As you might know that every 6 months somebody leads the European Union, so to speak, is a presidency. We were supposed to have our presidency first half next year, but we start 6 months early because of Brexit. The UK was supposed to be before us, but they decided to vote differently than everybody anticipated. Therefore, we start a bit early. And our main policy agenda as a presidency is to create a digital single market. As you might know, that European Union is based on 4 freedoms. It's a free movement of people, free movement of capital, free movement of goods, and free movement of services. But one thing is missing: free movement of data. And it's very, very important, because right now, take geo-blocking, take e-commerce. Unless you can move data freely cross-border, it don't function. I'm sure you have the same system here, that you see that sometimes cross-border trade is limited because of that. Or I give you another example that also in Estonia we developed these driverless cars that we want to have a best regulation, best environment for that. Now imagine that you have a self-driving car registered in Estonia, drives to south, cross-border to Latvia, our southern neighbor, and now ends up in a car crash. The car should be able to automatically send all the data to emergency services. But because of data protection rights, it cannot be done. So right now, the modern technology cannot be used because of that we still don't have free movement of data. Take energy, take transport. Estonia joined the European Space Agency, not to send people to the Mars, but just to use all the data that is available. But we need to be able to use it cross-border. That's extremely important. So, very briefly, I said there are a couple of applications we have. You can vote electronically, wherever you are. It's very convenient. E-health. E-health is important. I give you one example that we have e-prescription, meaning that I go to the doctor, I don't even need to go to the doctor. I call the doctor, say, I need this pill, and the prescription is put to the cloud, and then I can go to any pharmacy I want, and it's there. I may not be afraid that, maybe I lose the slip. Or e-school. I can check how my kids are progressing in school remotely. It's a very convenient app. And by the way, it's fully private. It's just linked to the system, but government doesn't have any role there. Or the emergency services. In Estonia, you don't need to have a driving license with you or insurance policy, because the police already gets the number plate or your ID card, and everything is there. So it has to be convenient. And one more important point is that this once only. And once only is extremely important aspect. And I think, this is one big difference every government can do. What it means? It means we have once only principle. This is, if government has data about you, it shouldn't ask it again. If government has already your name, your address, other information, why you ask it again? If you have a citizen registry. So in our case, it's so that if government has the data, but two institutions can talk to each other, it's government problem, not yours. And you save a lot. You save a lot of time if you do that. It's because government's role is to empower you. Maybe this single sign-on form you have in Thailand, maybe this has the same idea, but we really want it to be important aspect that once only. This is the rule also we're now implementing the European Union. Another important thing is, again, small thing that matters a lot. By default, everybody's opt-in. And you can opt out. Because as you know, many systems show that if you want to join the service, you opt in voluntarily, but it doesn't function like that. In Estonia, it's so, new service comes, everybody's opt-in by default. If you want to opt out, your choice. But it really makes it much faster. Now, I give you one example about why Estonia does it. Why you need e-government? Digital signature. I sign everything in Estonia digitally. And we have estimated that by signing document digitally, we save 1 week a year, meaning 2% of our GDP. What does it mean? Does it mean that I just sign documents faster digitally by hand? No, that's not the case. 1 week comes from commuting. The time you spend in traffic, from going to notary, to a doctor, to business registry, this is time you can save by doing everything from your office. I don't need to go anywhere. If I want to, let's say, if I do my tax declarations, I do it in 5 minutes, if I'm slow. Or, let's say, I can talk to my doctor, or can see everything, all the data about my car. I just replaced my driving license. Everything online, it was sent by mail. So I don't have to spend time in the traffic. So, and why it's also? Because you never know what the weather looks like. So maybe you are stuck, and you cannot go anywhere. So it doesn't mean that, the life stops. And digital signature is the way forward. Every country will do it. Therefore, also in Estonia, we have for you a business advice. So don't quote that, of course. So my third point I want to emphasize is that think out of the box. Nothing Estonia is famed for is a copy. And this out-of-the-box thinking is important because it really helps you to, let's say, it really helps you to find the creative ways to find shortcuts. Because it is the idea, like Thailand 4.0, I know that you introduced it last year. It is to have a fast forward in development. The same driver also, pushes us how to develop fast, how to find shortcuts, how to beat others. And we know that by copying others, we can, yes, maybe we can get closer, maybe not, but we have to be as creative and think out of the box as possible. So it's all about, ease of doing business. How to make your life easier, hassle-free, smoother. That's the very idea. And now I come to let's say, the final part. The e-government was important because, as I said, in 90s, when that was introduced, it was a luxury. And thankfully had political courage, and we introduced that. It helped to create IT cluster, and IT companies started, not only serve the government, but started to come up with ideas for commercial use as well. In 2000, Napster was closed. And then 3 Estonian guys, Ahti Einla, Jaan Tallinn, and Priit Kasasalu, wrote a program called Gaza, just to exchange the music file as well. They were joined by a Swedish guy and a Danish guy, and Skype was born in 2003. It's also a funny story why Skype was born in Estonia. Skype was born in Estonia by those 3 guys because Estonians are so shy and modest that if it's possible not talk to a person, not to meet face-to-face, it's great. So therefore, it's a strong incentive to create Skype. But when Skype was created, it really helped to boost our startup scene in Estonia. Estonia is now the startup capital of the world. We have the biggest number of startups per population per capita. And why it's so? Years back, I visited Seattle. Seattle is actually a small town in western coast of US, and it has only 700,000 people. But it has created so many famous brand names. Boeing, Amazon, Starbucks, but of course it's Microsoft. And I asked people, how come? They said, first we started Microsoft. Microsoft created lots of millionaires who got bought, left, Microsoft started their own businesses. And same is happening in Estonia. Those Skype factor is important, e-government factor as well. So many new Skype startups in Estonia have linkages to Skype. And of course, I am also in charge of startup policy in Estonia. People ask me, what's my policy on startups? I say, my policy is, don't do anything unless you ask to. Because we don't try to beat the market. Market knows better. But obviously, people always ask me, why we support so much startups, because most of them fail. As you know, the scale-up phase, only 5 to 8% reach. So most fail. Yes, it's true, but it's this kind of mentality issue that the youngsters, and not only youngsters, but also, a bit older people, they want to try new ideas to create the entrepreneurship that is necessary. These 2 guys, these are Estonians, they founded a company called TransferWise. TransferWise is a cross-border monetary transfer company. It's our unicorn. So they are worth more than 1 billion. So they really came to disrupt the market. Probably like the Thai prompt pay that was introduced by the government, I know, last year. I understand it's also to disrupt the market. So they came also to disrupt the market. Because what government can do, in a way, is that we can be a positively disruptive power. Because, as you know, companies, when they have the data, they usually harness all the data, sit on it, and use it for their own good, and try to have a monopolistic power. Governments can have a positively disruptive power, really, that everybody has an equal or level playing field. So it is extremely important. And my last 2 points. What comes next? What we can do in the future? As you know, the biggest businesses right now in the world are online because it's scalable. And also it's interesting comparison. As you see those 4 names here, they have become big while having no assets by themselves. We thought, given that we have such a well-oiled e-government system, why not to scale it up as well? Why not to make it also commercially feasible? So Estonia also has a target to become the biggest country in the world while not having citizens. So therefore, e-residency was introduced. What it means, you get the first time ever that you have government-backed online identity, and you can use all the services that Estonia has remotely wherever you are. I can also, for a long time, I can use my laptop, establish a company in Estonia in less than an hour, and do everything I want to online. Now everybody, all you here also can do it. I know that there are a couple of e-residents already in the audience, that you can become e-resident of Estonia, meaning you will be part of European Union. You establish a company there from here on your laptop. Maybe you want to have a full powers of a company in Estonia. Then you just have there maybe a couple of people. You attend the board meeting of a company in Estonia through Skype, and then sign the minutes of a board meeting digitally from an office here in Thailand. So we, more or less what we give you time. It took me 10 hours to fly here, it takes me 10 hours to fly back. So we give you 2 days. That's the idea, that just to make it bigger, just to make Estonia bigger, and just to let others to use our service as well. And the longest, coming back to the cybersecurity, that's very important, the longest it took for us to introduce that was we had to agree on what is the minimum data we require from each applicant. Because unless we can make sure that you are who you claim to be, the whole system will collapse. And we now have we have about 20,000, these old numbers, about 20,000 e-residents without us doing any marketing. Because we have two big problems. We couldn't do it before. Now it's about 2 years old. One is that in order to establish a company, you needed a physical address. Now we could overcome this because our former president said, if you need an address, Presidential Palace has an address, you can register. And secondly, more difficult one was, you cannot open a bank account remotely. And all the banks are private, we cannot force them. And it's actually international money laundering rules that doesn't allow, but now even that we could overcome. Now you can also open a bank account remotely and become e-resident. So I really hope that you all can become e-residents, and you will. So there is even a link, you can check it out. And lastly, was also in the clip that I just put that slide there because it happened 2 weeks ago, that Estonia is the first country who has data embassy. We signed a cooperation agreement with Luxembourg, meaning that in case of emergency, we back up everything to an undisclosed location in server in Luxembourg. But also we want to make it a service so that you can do the same in Estonia. If Thailand wants to have backup servers in Estonia, you're most welcome. So this is the future, and I want to leave you with 4 things what I said before. So you have to make your size and location irrelevant. I think it's every country's purpose. So obstacles are usually mental and political. They are not technical. Give engineers a chance. This is our point usually. You have to come over this kind of, being afraid of change. Change is good. Think off the box, because nothing Estonia is famed for is a copy. And the last one is you're never ready. Keep evolving. That's why I'm also here, because we know that technology we have right now might be excellent, but everybody knows it might be obsolete 5 years from now. Most probably it is. So we have to keep evolving. Thank you so much. Future is here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Viljar Lubi. That was a very beneficial speech. ก็ Mr. Viljar นะคะก็ได้พูดถึงความสำคัญของการพัฒนาและการเรียนรู้นะคะว่าถึงแม้ว่าจะเป็นประเทศเล็กๆมีประชากรเพียง 1.3 ล้านคนเท่านั้นนะคะแต่ว่าเอสโตเนียก็ไม่ได้นำข้อจำกัดเหล่านี้มาเป็นข้อจำกัดนะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นที่ตั้งขนาดของประเทศนะคะเขาบอกว่าปัญหามักจะเป็นเรื่องที่อยู่ข้างในแต่ไม่ได้เป็นเรื่องทางเทคนิคดังนั้นเราก็สามารถที่จะพัฒนาทางเทคนิค ไปได้สุดๆเลยนะคะเขาก็ได้มีการพัฒนาเทคโนโลยีให้ทุกอย่างเป็นระบบอิเล็กทรอนิกส์นะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของการศึกษาการเมืองนะคะการเลือกตั้งบัตรเครดิตการธนาคารการจ่ายภาษีต่างๆซึ่งรัฐบาลก็ได้ผลักดันอย่างครบวงจรจนกลายเป็นประเทศต้นแบบ e-country ของโลกค่ะWell, okay, now it's time for the questions and answer session. I'm sure after listening to that very great and inspiring speech, people will have a lot of questions to ask you. ถ้าใครมีคำถามนะคะก็ยกมือได้เลยนะคะแล้วเดี๋ยวทีมงานจะเอาไมค์ไปให้ช่วยแนะนำตัวเองสักหน่อยนะคะแล้วก็ถามคำถามได้เลยค่ะใครจะเป็นคนแรกของเราดีคะ
Yes, please. There is a mic
เดี๋ยว
and the sound
ลูกแก้ว
comes to
จะทำ
you.
หน้าที่แปลให้ค่ะ
สวัสดีครับผมชื่อจักรินนะฮะ My name is จักรินผมไปเพิ่งกลับจากเอสโตเนียอาทิตย์ที่แล้ว
He just went to Estonia last week.
Excellent.
ก็รู้สึกชื่นชมในความก้าวหน้าของเอสโตเนียในเรื่องของการเป็น e-government
He admires the e-country, the systemized of Estonia very much.
Thank you.
ผมเห็นด้วยในเรื่องของการพัฒนาไปสู่การเป็น e-government เนี่ยมันไม่ใช่เรื่องเทคนิคแต่มันเป็นเรื่องของการเปลี่ยน mindset.
And he agrees that changing the system is not about the technical things, but about the mindset.
คือประเทศไทยเราเนี่ยก็มีความก้าวหน้าในทางด้านเทคนิคเช่นเขาได้เมนชั่นเรื่องของจีน GIN network แล้วก็มีเรื่องของพร้อมเพย์แต่ว่ามันก็ยังไม่ได้ไปถึงไหน
In Thailand, we also have some technical advances such as prompt pay, paying, and other things.
And also the GIN that you have mentioned, but the system is not going that well. ก็คำถามก็คือว่าจะทำยังไงถึงจะเปลี่ยนแปลงความคิดของคนไทยได้ที่จะก้าวไปสู่ความเป็น e-government ครับ
The question is how to change the mindset of people to push forward that to change into an e-society is something that must be done.
You're absolutely right that also our lesson is that it's a mental thing. First, you need political courage helps. If you have political leadership, it usually helps, and even the location of the leading office is important. Our experience also shows it has to be with the Prime Minister. It has to be above the ministries. Unless all ministries work for the same purpose, nothing happens. This is the governmental side. But also, people can do a lot because actually, to be honest, then I would say the future is here. It's not computer anymore. So people can do a lot with phones, and private companies can really help that the great services that you need a critical mass. I think the critical mass is already here. Now, what government should do is to knot it all up together. That that the different solutions can talk to each other. This is what government can do and should do. Because as soon as said, it was very supply driven. People didn't want it. But then they started to realize, oh, it's convenient. It actually saves you lots of time and money. And then all the new services followed. I said, now there are a couple of things. But I can't do online. So the critical mass is important. I think it's already here, already in Thailand. And I know that I followed also your system. It's there. The biggest problem is that, yes, there are so many different initiatives, but they are not linked to each other. This linkage has to be done by the government. And probably it has to be with the Prime Minister's office. So probably my first suggestion will be, if it's not in the Prime Minister's office, it's a separate ministry. Usually it can have its, let's say, shortcomings. It has to be where the power is.
ค่ะก็คุณลูบี้นะคะก็ได้พูดถึงการที่คือมันเป็นเรื่องที่รัฐบาลจะต้องผลักดันนะคะซึ่งเขาก็มีการผลักดันอยู่แล้วแต่ว่าบางทีอาจจะด้วยไม่ได้เชื่อมต่อกันว่าแต่ละหน่วยงานในหลายๆหน่วยงานที่มาร่วมมือกันแล้วก็มองว่ามันเป็น priority เป็นสิ่งแรกที่จะต้องให้ความสำคัญ อันนั้นก็เป็นขั้นแรกนะคะก็คือขั้นรัฐบาลของประเทศนั้นๆแต่ว่าก็คนเราทุกคนก็สามารถที่จะผลักดันให้เกิด awareness ความสำคัญในเรื่องนี้ได้เพราะว่าสมัยนี้ก็มีมือถือทุกคนก็มีมือถือทุกคนก็มี social network มี IT เราสามารถที่จะผลักดันให้เกิดการกระตุ้นว่าเราต้องมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงไปข้างหน้าเราต้องทำให้ประเทศของเราพัฒนาไปเพราะว่ามันเป็นสิ่งที่มันประหยัดเวลาแล้วก็ประหยัดหลายๆอย่างนะคะ
And maybe I add one thing that is also how you create a critical mass. In most countries, people have the trust issue, what said about Big Brother. But that's the thing that you also it has to be collaboration. You have to put checks and balances in place. The law is so important. And as I said, in Estonia we try to enforce also the laws about data ownership. That I own the data, not the government. That I can see what data government has about me, and I can control it. It also helps to overcome the trust issue, because it's there, even in Estonia.
ค่ะก็เรื่องของกฎหมายด้วยที่จะสามารถมาผลักดันให้มันเกิดขึ้นจริงนะคะค่ะขอคำถามต่อไปได้เลยค่ะ
Over there is a hand I see. I cannot see the balcony. If somebody's there, then
ด้านบนครับ
ชุติมาพรจิตจำนะคะก็มีข้อสอบถามคือว่าเห็นว่าใช้ ID card เป็นตัวที่ทำธุรกรรมทางอิเล็กทรอนิกส์ทั้งหมดก็คือคำถามคืออยากรู้ว่าทางรัฐบาลเอสโตเนียสร้างความเชื่อมั่นยังไงให้ประชาชนไว้ใจว่าสามารถมอบ ID card ตัวนี้เพื่อทำธุรกรรมทั้งหมดแล้วก็ถ้าเกิดการล่วไหลในระบบข้อมูลส่วนตัวตรงนี้ทางรัฐบาลมีเขาเรียกว่ารับผิดชอบหรือว่ามีกฎหมายตัวใดซัพพอร์ตตรงนี้อยู่หรือเปล่า
She's asking about you mentioned the using of the ID card in order to do every kind of electronic transaction. How can you convince the people of Estonia to trust in the system that their information is safe, and if there is a leakage or an error in the system, how do you deal with it and manage it?
ID card has been the center of our, let's say, e-government system. Mobile ID is actually taking over, and most probably we see, even as I said, we need to evolve ourselves all the time, because both mobile ID and digital ID card has one shortcoming. They are not touch-free. It has to be touch-free, so we are getting there as well. And new technologies come. As I said, our system is based on transparency, so that governments, all the information, it functions, and how it's built, it's a very transparent way. Why it is important? Because new technology we are introducing is blockchain. And blockchain is something that is extremely transparent. How it functions. As you know, it has to be a consensus amongst all the participants. And you cannot then penetrate it. It's a new technology we are doing. And this also helps for the security purposes, also for the trust issue. So probably in Estonia, yes, blockchain will have a much more prominence in the upcoming years.
ค่ะเขาก็ได้พูดถึงว่าเรื่องของความโปร่งใสของระบบนะคะที่ทุกคนสามารถตรวจสอบได้แล้วก็เช็คเข้าใจในระบบว่ามันคืออะไรตรวจสอบได้อย่างไรแล้วก็ใช้เทคโนโลยีบล็อกเชนนะคะที่สามารถที่จะดูได้ค่ะนอกจากนี้ก็excuse me at the end you mentioned after the blockchain
No, I just said that the blockchain technology is something that we definitely will use. The biggest blockchain companies in the world even are already in Estonia, so we're developing very fast. And we see that this is technology that can be used in order to increase even more security.
ค่ะก็ต้องกลายมาเป็นประชามติด้วยนะคะเกี่ยวกับเรื่องนี้ค่ะ Do we have any?
Yeah, over there is a gentleman.
Hello. สวัสดีครับผมแม็กซ์ศิริศักดิ์นะครับคือทั้งหมดที่เกิดขึ้นที่พูดขึ้นมาเนี่ยครับเกี่ยวสมมติบางประเทศรัฐบาลไม่ค่อยมั่นคงนะครับเป็นไม่ได้ไหมที่เอกชนหรือคนรุ่นใหม่จะทำขึ้นมาครับผมเกี่ยวกับอีโคโนมิกใช่ไหมครับ
He said that in some countries the political situation and the government is not as stable. Is it possible for an organization or like a private sector to create this e-society?
As I said, technically it's possible. When we introduced e-government, I said we had two options. Either government does it or private sector does it. This is a trust issue. You have to make up your mind who do you trust. Yes, the private sector can do it as well, but then it means that you have to outsource it. But you have to trust it. The same is, do you trust Google, Facebook, all the companies who have so much information about you? And usually it's quite bizarre if you think that we tend to trust private companies more than our own governments. And now the thing is that on private companies, yes, again, government can, with regulation, let's say, pressure them on data ownership. As you know, private companies don't want to give up the ownership rights because this is money for them. But government can have this disruptive power that also, even if the private sector is running, so to speak, the e-government, that you own the data. This is what governments can do if the governments don't build up the system by themselves.
เขาบอกว่าก็เป็นไปได้นะคะถึงแม้ว่าถ้ารัฐบาลอาจจะไม่ได้สนับสนุนแต่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของความไว้ใจของประชาชนที่มีในองค์กรนั้นๆหรือเซกเตอร์นั้นๆเพราะอย่างทุกวันนี้องค์กรต่างๆเขาก็มีข้อมูลเกี่ยวกับ Data ต่างๆของประชาชนอยู่แล้วแต่ถ้าสมมติมีรัฐบาลด้วยคือมันก็จะสะดวกมากขึ้นในการที่จะสร้าง regulation กฎหมายต่างๆให้ออกไปค่ะ
Yes, I see the hand there. And as the microphone goes there, I have to excuse the interpreters. I know I speak very fast. I'm sorry for that.
Hello, my name is Namphon Banjana Pongchai. So what I want to know is what do you see next as Estonia country? Like now you're going to blockchain technologies and how about big data and AI and like deep learning?
Yes.
And how should we like human beings prepare for the future? Because what we know, this is going to take our opportunity, takes our job, and like form the basic careers. Mm-hmm. So what do you see? Like we should prepare and what should we develop for that?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are so many things, that future can bring, and some things you might like, some things you don't might like. I give you one example of what we are thinking of in Estonia. Accountancy 3.0. It means that we're offering private companies opportunity that if they give us raw data, we do all the taxes for them. Meaning that more or less, if government gets access to your bank account, sees all the transfers, then you can do everything, The income tax you pay on your employees, the VAT and so on, because data still AI can do it. So that AI is let's say, probably it's also extremely important factor because AI is becoming more and more prominent. And that's why this reminds me of a funny story about Jaan Tallinna mentioned, one of the three guys who wrote Skype. I know that also, I'm sure that he has been to Bangkok a lot. If you don't know, he's a big disco dancer. You find him in the nightclubs and dances a lot, but it's not the important point. The important point is, although he's the founder of Skype, he's arguably the biggest spender of his own personal wealth on going and lecturing against the AI in the world. So meaning that also, my point is that not even in Estonia, we always have these discussions. What should be done and what shouldn't be done.
เขาก็บอกว่าคือหลักๆมันก็เป็นเรื่องของการไว้ใจนะคะถ้าสมมติรัฐบาลสามารถที่จะทำให้ประชาชนไว้ใจที่จะให้ข้อมูลทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของเกี่ยวกับการธนาคารต่างๆเขาก็จะสามารถปรับระบบให้เราสามารถใช้เป็น e-system ได้ก็คือเป็นการร่วมมือกันคือคนก็ต้องไว้ใจรัฐบาลและรัฐบาลก็ต้องทำระบบให้ดีและโปร่งใสค่ะมีคำถามอีกไหมคะอาจจะมีเวลาสำหรับคำถามสุดท้าย
I see one more hand. Well, I see that we have 45 seconds, so I try to be brief.
Hi, I'm Suthanan Traisat, and I'm really interested about your e-education system that you launched throughout the country. I really would love to know how you started that in the initial phase.
Thank you.
Will you make it in 45 seconds?
Yes. Very briefly, this is where we started. The first thing we did in early 90s was we linked all the schools to internet because we knew it's all about people, education. The mentality starts from there. Yes, in some schools we also introduced programming from first grade. The biggest challenge we have, yes, the demand is there. It's again the people. We don't have teachers. This is the biggest problem we have, just to have enough people to teach programming. But schools is something that, you have to start early, you have to invest a lot, because these people are here to change the world. And they are the one that, help us, what was the first question as well, to overcome the mentality problem.
ค่ะเมื่อกี้ก็เป็นคำถามเกี่ยวกับเรื่องระบบการศึกษาว่าของเอสโตเนียระบบการศึกษาเป็นอิงไปทาง system มากๆเลยนะคะแล้วก็เริ่มต้นยังไงซึ่งทางคุณลูบี้ก็ได้บอกว่าคือเขาเริ่มต้นโดยการที่ให้โรงเรียนทุกโรงเรียนเนี่ยมีอินเทอร์เน็ตมี Wi-Fi ที่สามารถที่จะใช้ได้อย่างทั่วถึงนะคะและอีกอย่างหนึ่งก็คือให้เริ่มไวตั้งแต่เด็กๆเลยก็มีการสอนเกี่ยวกับโปรแกรมมิ่งตั้งแต่ประถมนะคะก็คือตั้งแต่ป .1 เลยแล้วก็ให้ทุกคนเนี่ยเรียนรู้ในการโปรแกรมมิ่งเพราะว่าในตลาดเนี่ยมีดีมานด์อยู่แล้วมีความต้องการอยู่แล้วขึ้นอยู่กับว่าเราจะสามารถสร้างแล้วก็ผลิตบุคลากรที่จะมาสอนเกี่ยวกับโปรแกรมมิ่งให้ได้หรือเปล่าซึ่งทั้งหมดก็คือการลงทุนต้องลงทุนทั้งเวลาแต่ว่าสุดท้ายแล้วมันก็คุ้มค่ะก็เท่านี้นะคะสำหรับการถามคำถามนะคะ I'd like to say thank you very much Mr. Lubi and I think everyone is very inspired and will take the thought in improving Thailand also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me as well.